Hello everybody, how are you guys doing? This is Rob of Ro2R Review, welcome back, and of course today we're going to discuss a little bit more of E3 fun, predictions, and hype. So you might have noticed that I haven't been uploading videos the last couple of days, and if you follow me on Twitter you would have known why. My girlfriend has had her family in town visiting us and staying with us from back home in Denver, which has been really fantastic and a lot of fun, but of course it's become the priority, and it's kept me really busy, and as I mentioned on Twitter, I knew I wasn't going to be able to make any videos or uploads for a couple of days, but now I can finally get back to the goods. E3 is rolling up upon us. It's like two and a half weeks away. So freaking exciting, man. Like I've said on every video, it's the best time of year, and there is a lot going on, man. There's so many rumors, so many leaks, so many just crazy conversations and things getting out there. Some of it feels like it could be very real. A lot of it feels like it could be very fake. Some of these weird things have actually already turned out to be true, like the Walmart leak and Rage 2 actually being a game, which kind of lends credence to many of the other possible things and leaks and rumors that have been getting out there. It's just been a really crazy time, and people are all over the board when it comes to these things. Some people are actually really upset with the way things are playing out, and I do understand that for sure. But overall, to me, my personal perspective is, at the very least, it just means that the E3 hype and excitement is just out there in the ethosphere, and everyone's paying attention to it, and it's getting people talking and thinking and getting excited about all of these things, even a lot of the dumber rumors and things out there that might even turn out to be fake. I still think it's cool that everyone's just getting excited for E3. And through that, of course, it is my own excitement for E3 that inspired this video today, and for the past, I think 2 E3s in a row, I've done this same series of video. What I'm doing today is making a list of the 5 confirmed games that I am most excited about to hopefully learn more about at E3. And like I said, I've done this the last 2 years, and I also make a companion video to this where I discuss the 5 kind of surprise games I hope to see revealed at the show. And that's always a really fun thing to do because it's kind of a predictions sort of video, and it's like a wish list or a dream list, dream game kind of video. And that's a lot of fun. Basically discussing games that have not been announced or confirmed, but that I really want to see announced or confirmed at E3. However, today's video is only about the 5 games that we already know exist that have a good shot or have even been confirmed to be showing up at E3 this year in just a couple of weeks. And, you know, there's really not maybe as many games to pick from as I would have hoped for this video. I think the last few years we did have a better understanding of which games we already knew we were going to be hearing more about at E3. This year there wasn't as many, but there was enough for me to whittle it down to 5 that are really, really exciting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and list off the 5 games that I'm most excited to learn about at E3. Again, some of them are already confirmed to be at the show. Some of them we kind of hope have a chance at showing up at the show or seem very likely. And then one of them I feel like honestly might not be there at all. But there's still games that have already been confirmed, and so for all we know, they may show up at the show. So let's start off here, of course, with number 5, and that is going to be Fire Emblem for the Nintendo Switch. Definitely one of the more mysterious games when it comes to E3 this year, because the game was confirmed last year, but all we got was a title card of Fire Emblem 2018. That was the only thing we've been told about the game, and literally Nintendo has not addressed the game once since that happened. But for myself, as a very big Fire Emblem fan and a continually growing Fire Emblem fan, it's hard for me not to be really excited to learn more about this game. And I would honestly be shocked if Nintendo didn't address it at E3 this year, because it is one of the first games that Nintendo ever discussed for the console. I mean, if anything, Nintendo has been pushing Fire Emblem more and more to the forefront of their marketing and of their cherished IPs lately, and a lot of us have noticed that and talked about it. So many games coming out on the DS and the 3DS. So many Fire Emblem characters showing up in Smash Brothers, it's insane. Fire Emblem Heroes on the mobile platform, which, although I never played, I hear is very, very good, and I know that for a while was also doing very well for Nintendo, being basically a free-to-play experience where you just download the game for free and play the basic version for nothing. But then there's all these reasons to purchase, I guess, probably new characters or abilities, weapons, and items for your characters and stuff. And you know, the Fire Emblem formula at first, when I say at first, I mean whatever, 10 years ago, when it started to make a big breakthrough out here, I was like, it's cool, but it's not really for me. But then I started playing the more recent games like Awakening and Fates, and they really took me over. I did enjoy my little bit of time with the 2 Radiant games, Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn. I did dabble in them and own them, and I thought that they were okay, but at the time, they were a little bit too difficult for me to get into, and I didn't have the patience. Nowadays, I have the patience for the kind of game that a Fire Emblem experience can be. And to see what a true Fire Emblem game on the Switch can turn into is so exciting. I mean, I'm kicking myself constantly for not having picked up Fire Emblem Warriors, but even still, that's a Warriors game. That's not a regular strategy Fire Emblem game with a huge involved story and so many characters and relations and relationships to deal with, on top of incredible strategic combat. I mean, I don't know. I think that they're going to make a great Fire Emblem console game, but throw in a lot of new spins and twists to the idea and the formula. Hopefully not too many. But to see a game like this running on the Nintendo Switch and knowing it's going to be portable on the Switch, just like the 3DS games, it's incredibly exciting. So yeah, I cannot wait for Fire Emblem. Okay, so my game coming in at number 4 is very exciting, but I think it's also going to be very controversial, at least for a lot of you guys. I think everyone's going to be pretty upset that I'm including this game so low on this list, or surprised that I'm including it so low. But if you know me, you'll understand why when you see the full list. But my 4th most anticipated game for E3 is Super Smash Bros., also for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I think the reason a lot of people might find this surprising or controversial is because this, as far as we know, is Nintendo's big focus game for the year. It's the game that we basically assumed they might actually theme their booth around, and we know that it's going to be the highlight and focus of their, E3 Direct presentation. We know that they're having the Smash Bros. Invitational this year for the new game, which is going to get a lot of attention and focus during E3. And we even know that the Treehouse is going to probably spend the majority of their time throughout the week touching on this new game and sharing gameplay of it and showing demos and talking about it and whatever new features and characters are going to be revealed. I mean, it's going to be the Smash Bros. Show this year. It certainly is. And so that's why I think a lot of people might think it's crazy not to have this at number 1, and that's totally fine. Make no mistake, if the other 3 games weren't out this year, this probably would be my number 1, because, I mean, it's Smash. It's Smash Brothers. Like, it's always great. I think every single Smash Brothers has been fantastic. I even love Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which a lot of people think is like the low point for the series. I thought that was great. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with Smash Bros. On the Switch. I am definitely in the camp of this being a new game. I know some people are still kind of on the outskirts, thinking that there's a chance that it's going to be just a port of the Wii U game. And while they haven't confirmed it one way or another, I think it would be insane and really shocking if this turned out to be the Wii U game. I mean, they basically had the one guy from Bandai who was like, yeah, we created a new engine for the game before I left, and that's what the new Switch Smash Bros. Is running on. I mean, if they made a new engine for the game, then that means it's probably a new game. They wouldn't need a new engine if they were porting Smash for Wii U. So either way, whatever this game turns out to be, I'm very excited. I love Smash Brothers, and I feel like they're going to find some sort of unique spin or twist to add on to this game. You know, they knocked it out of the park with Subspace Emissary, I feel, even though at the time people were very down on it. Nowadays, everyone seems to love and miss the Subspace Emissary. So I loved that. The Smash Tour on the Wii U, I hated, even though the game was phenomenal, but I hated the Smash Tour single-player mode. But Smash Run on the 3DS version was amazing. And so I'm hoping that they bring back either Smash Run or a new spin on Smash Run or a new spin on a single player, even like a campaign or a story like what Subspace was. Or, knowing Nintendo, it's probably going to be something all new, but I can't wait to see the new mechanics, the new characters, the new stages, whatever new single player content, a Smash Tour, Subspace Emissary, Smash Run thing, whatever they introduce, because they will introduce something like that into the game. It's going to be phenomenal, and because we know we're going to get so much information, so much gameplay, so many demos of people playing it throughout the Treehouse, and the Smash Bros. Invitational, come on, that is going to be such a blast to see a new Smash Bros. Being played in a competitive setting. It's just going to be fantastic. So, yeah, it's Smash. Everybody loves Smash, and that's why it's my 4th most anticipated game. Okay, coming in at number 3 is the game that in any other year or any other scenario very likely would have been number 1. But this is a unique scenario and a unique year with the other games that could possibly be showing up at the show. And what's happening with this game, while cool, is also different and surprising, I think, compared to what a lot of us would have expected. However, anyway, let me get to the goods. The number 3 game is Beyond Good and Evil 2. And most of you guys who are familiar with me know my love for Beyond Good and Evil. Oh my god, one of my top 10 favorite games of all time, the original game. Such an underrated classic and masterpiece, had such a huge cult following, and there was rumors and a weird CG trailer in 2008 about a sequel forever. For literally a decade. It was 2008, 10 years ago, that first thing burst on the scene, and all of a sudden everyone was wondering about the sequel to Beyond Good and Evil, which is a game that reviewed well. Everyone loves it, has a huge cult following, but weirdly didn't sell well, and so we thought the game and the series and the character of Jade was just gone. It was just a one-time thing, and it was just lost to history. However, the big reveal last year at the end of Ubisoft's show was Beyond Good and Evil 2. I was basically almost in tears. I was like laughing to myself, giddy like crazy. I cannot believe this game exists. It was so insane. And so, and Ubisoft has confirmed that Beyond Good and Evil 2 will be making a presence this year at E3. So that's very, very exciting. Of course, there is the weirdness of the fact that what they're doing with this game is very different than what a lot of us expected from a Beyond Good and Evil 2, and to be honest, what a lot of us wanted from a Beyond Good and Evil 2. What they're doing is not a sequel to Beyond Good and Evil, and is not a continuation of the story of Jade and Paige, who were two incredible characters and the world of Hillis, and like, I want to know more about that. I want to know what's supposed to happen next, but that's not what they're doing. However, as sad as I am about what they're doing, I'm also excited about what they're doing, and I know that they seem counterpoint to each other, but it's definitely true. Yes, I wanted the direct sequel with Jade to the first game, but the fact that they're doing something so crazy and unique and different, making a game that is essentially a prequel set in the generation before Jade was born, it's apparently going to connect to the first game in many ways. Paige is shown and referenced in that first CG trailer that they revealed, and they did confirm that in some way, shape, or form, Jade's mother is going to be in the game, and it's some big online connected world, huge open world, featuring a lot of new technology. You're going to different planets and different systems, and creating your own character and doing all these weird things. It's like, definitely, like I said, not what I think we wanted, but because they're doing so many unique and crazy things that is so vastly different from what the first game was, it literally means I only want to learn more, because it's still so confusing and so mysterious. We recently saw a little bit more of the gameplay. They had a short 2-minute clip of that they addressed, I think, a week or two ago. And, I mean, the gameplay and the combat looks fantastic, and I think the world looks very cool. So there's a lot of promising elements going into this game, and they seem to be very much doubling down on how this does have loose connections to the first game, and to Jade, and to Paige. And that does matter, man. They need to keep telling us how true that is, because we need that. I want that as a super fan. I want to know that those characters and that story somehow is relevant to this game. But all that stuff aside, it's just exciting to know a game with the title of Beyond Good and Evil 2 exists, and they will be giving us more at E3 this year. I think that game is still a 2020 or later game. It might even be a game for the next cycle of consoles. Who even knows? But it's exciting. It's going to be there this year. I love Beyond Good and Evil, so I still just can't wait. Now, coming in at number 2 is one of the big daddies of the show, and a game that was recently confirmed to be at E3, and confirmed that we are going to get a lot of information about this game, so this is super exciting. And that game is The Last of Us Part 2. Now, I have referenced several times before how much I love that game, and I know it might seem crazy and people are going to think I'm nuts, but that game is literally a top 5 all-time video game for me. The first game, I don't know what it was about it, man, but especially when I played it when it came out in 2013, it was like the week after E3, I believe. Such a fantastic week and a great time. And that game, it blew me away. It blew a lot of us away. It absolutely lived up to the hype. To me, it exceeded expectations. I was so in love with the characters. I was so in love with the world that you traverse in that game and the story being told. And, you know, it was coming out at a time where I started to appreciate games being very cinematic and very story-focused, provided there is a good level of gameplay to it, which The Last of Us has. It is definitely mostly a gameplay-driven game, but it has a great cinematic presentation and a wonderful story, and Joel and Ellie and their relationship and individual characters and the people they meet along the way totally just enraptured me, man. I don't know what to say. I love the post-apocalyptic setting. I love that kind of world. and the stories being told are continually getting better and better nowadays. Even though the idea is getting run into the ground for sure, I still think it's great. And The Last of Us, oh my gosh, The Last of Us. Naughty Dog are doing amazing work. I so love those guys and so continually impressed with what they do. And so, excuse me, The Last of Us Part 2, I think, is going to blow us away. A lot of mystery surrounding this game. We've had 2 CG sort of trailers. That first introductory trailer with an older Ellie, at least I think she was an older Ellie. She looked older, sitting on a bed in the middle of some cottage, playing a sad song on a guitar, and Joel is in there. They killed some Fireflies people, and he's like, come on, kid, we gotta go, or whatever. And there's a great theory going out there that Joel might actually be dead. It is only a theory, so it's not like a spoiler. And that would make me sad, but also very interested. Like, will this game even pick up right at the end of the first game? Because I really want to know what happened next. Or is it going to skip a couple of years? I assume it probably will. Then we got the CG trailer of a whole nother group of people that I think were probably Fireflies, and they're beating up some girl and breaking her bones. And it's like, what is going on here? How are these people going to relate to the Joel and Ellie story? And it is great to at least know that Joel and Ellie are coming back. I would have been very sad, I will admit, if this game took place not surrounding the characters of Joel and Ellie, which they could have easily done, just another game set in this world, but not featuring Joel and Ellie. They could have done that, and it would have been fine, but I'm a sucker, man. I have a soft spot for those characters, and I'm very glad that they're bringing us back to that core of those 2 characters, or whatever characters are still alive. You know, so bottom line, Sony recently confirmed we're doing deep dives at our media event about a couple of games, and one of them is The Last of Us 2, so we know we're going to get a lot of information. I'm sure we're going to get the first gameplay, an idea of the setting, the story, the time period, hopefully a bunch of information without spoiling too much is going to be in the game. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do with the story, how the framing of the characters might be different, and just the goal of the game. I assume we're going to be playing as Ellie throughout this game, which is going to be fantastic, and so I don't know, man. I could rave about The Last of Us forever. I could talk about my excitement for the sequel forever. But in 2 weeks, we're going to get the doors blown open on this game, I assume. I think it's probably a 2019 game, almost definitely. So yeah, I love Last of Us. Cannot wait for the sequel, and that is why it's my second most anticipated game. And finally, my number 1 most anticipated game at this year's E3. You guys know me, I don't play for shock value. I'm not trying to be some pretentious, surprising hipster like, oh, you thought I was going to do this. Here's this weird, obscure game that no one cares about to my number 1. That's not me, man. You know what my number 1 is, and it is Metroid Prime 4. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe that we live in a world where this game is being made. I even made a post about this on Twitter the other day. Sometimes I literally just stop and think, and I reflect on the fact that Metroid Prime 4 is a game. It exists. It is being made. And in the next year to 2 years of our life, probably, we will be playing it. I'm going to have a brand new Metroid Prime game in my hands, made for the current Nintendo technology and console generation that exists. It is blowing my mind how exciting that is. Metroid Prime 4, a huge mystery, but easily one of the biggest and most unknown quantities from Nintendo. This game is going to be amazing. I have absolute faith in Nintendo to knock this game out of the park. I have absolute faith in what we pretty much assume is Bandai Namco to make a great game. While that has not been confirmed, we all know the story about Bandai and Namco, and I certainly at this point have no reason to doubt that Bandai is the development team behind this game, or at least helping Nintendo and their internal team with this game. And that is the tricky thing about Metroid Prime 4, and what I hope we will learn about the game whenever Nintendo decides to share it, is that it seems like Nintendo does have their own internal team that they created, that's what it sounded like before, to do the main development on this game. But then, of course, a lot of rumors over the last few months did make it seem like, yeah, Bandai probably has a team also helping with this game. And all in all, Nintendo are talented developers, Bandai are incredibly talented, I love those guys, so if they're really helping Nintendo with this game, I think it's only going to make a better Metroid Prime 4. And then the big question is it going to show up at E3 this year? I mean, it's tricky for me to put this at number 1, because I think it has probably, of all these games, the biggest chance of not showing up at the show this year, but it still could. Nintendo could definitely surprise us. And you guys have heard me say a jillion times before, I believe Metroid Prime 4 is a 2019 release. I don't think it's coming out this year. And if that was true, then that means there's even less of a chance that they're going to show it, because Nintendo did state our E3 show this year is going to focus on 2018 Nintendo Switch titles, which typically that is how Nintendo goes about their E3. They like to show stuff for that year, for the upcoming few months. They don't usually tease stuff that's very, very far away. However, as I've also discussed, lately Nintendo has been kind of stepping away from that business model, and they have been teasing the occasional game for the future. Fire Emblem was teased for the following year. Last year they teased Metroid Prime 4 and Pokemon, two games that didn't release in 2017 with no info that are definitely 2018 or 2019 games. And so it's not impossible for Nintendo to give us something at the show this year that is for next year. And so, whether Metroid Prime 4 does turn out to be a 2018 title, or if it's more in line with my guess that it's a 2019 title, there is that small sliver of hope that Nintendo decides to show the game. Whether they focus on it heavily because it's a 2018 title, or if they give us a tiny little tease and maybe like a 30 or 60 second teaser trailer with a little bit of gameplay because it's a 2019 game, and they're like, hey, here's a quick look at the game, and we're going to tell you more about it next year. Whatever they do, there is a chance that it shows up at E3. And to be fair, I will give you guys, as a Metroid superfan, I will give you guys my honest opinion. And while I still think that it is a 2019 game, more and more as the days go on, I am starting to believe we might still see it at the show. I know they said 2018 titles, you guys, but I think Nintendo is not above a nice little 2019 surprise. And just here's a little morsel of something for next year. Everything else we're talking about is 2018, but here's just 30 seconds of a 2019 title, and I think that game could be Metroid Prime 4. And because there is that shot that the game shows up at some point throughout the show this year, that's why it's easily my number one. I mean, Metroid is my favorite series. Samus is my favorite character. Metroid Prime 1 is my favorite video game of all time. These are all things that you guys know. And so because of that, there was no way that the game wasn't going to be my number one. The only way it wouldn't have been is if Nintendo had already confirmed without a shadow of a doubt the game absolutely will not be at E3 this year. But they haven't said anything like that, so I think there's a very good shot we see something about it at the show. So I'm just rambling about Metroid at this point because I love Metroid and I think they're going to do amazing things with this game. I don't even care who's developing. Whether it's Bandai, whether it's Nintendo, whether it's, I don't know, anyone else, whoever it is, the game is going to be amazing. Nintendo will not mess up Metroid Prime 4. It's going to be the best playing game, the best looking game I think they've ever made, all that good stuff. So yeah, I mean, no surprises, man. Metroid Prime 4, my number one most anticipated game at E3 this year. So there you go, my 5 most anticipated games for the show this year. Like I said, there were less at least it feels like there are less confirmed games going into the show this year than in previous years. But still, there was a good collection of games as I started to go through the list of what I could find of things that are confirmed for the show. And it was a nice little challenge to whittle this down for sure. But, those first 3 games, I knew without a shadow of a doubt, were pretty much the top 3 games. Metroid, Last of Us, and Beyond Good and Evil, of course those were going to be my top 3. The other 2, I did a little bit more research to make sure I wasn't missing any kind of crazy surprises, but it was pretty easy at that point to finish out my top 5 list. But I do want to give 2 huge honorable mentions to games that were very close to making the list, and that is Travis Strikes Again No More Heroes. Of course, I'm a big No More Heroes guy, and I cannot wait for that game. And then, of course, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, a really interesting sequel to one of the best games I've played this generation, and definitely one of the best, if not the best, Xbox One exclusive that's released this year. Although it is, of course, Xbox One and PC, but that's whatever. That's a weird mess. When we look at consoles, it's an Xbox exclusive. And, I cannot wait to learn more about those games this year. I'm sure they're going to have very big presences. Ori and the Will of the Wisps has actually kind of gone dark, really, since it was first revealed last year. So it's about time that we learn more about that game, see new gameplay and trailers, and honestly get a release date. I assume it's going to be like an August or September-ish type of title. But yeah, No More Heroes and Ori are 2 very important games that do get very special honorable mentions, because I just can't wait for them. But overall, I mean, it's E3 time, you guys. Like I said, 2 weeks away. Hallelujah, it feels so good. I've got a week-long vacation coming up soon and I simply cannot wait. So many great games. These are the 5 confirmed games that we know about that I cannot wait for. The next video I'm going to make on this topic will be my companion video where I will discuss the 5 games that I want announced or that I hope to hear revealed or confirmed at the show that as of right now have not been revealed or confirmed or talked about in any way, shape, or form. Basically, my 5 dream games that I hope do show up at the show, and it's really fun to have these conversations. It's great to keep that E3 hype train rolling, man. It's just so exciting. So I do want to hear what you guys think about the 5 games that I discussed. Do you agree with them? Do you agree with the order of them? Of course you won't, because no one can ever agree on a list. That's the nature of making lists. They always are pretty polarizing, and you know, sometimes they make people really angry, and what are you going to do? Everyone's going to yell at me for not including Pokemon or not including Red Dead Redemption or whatever else they want. But you know what? Hey, everyone's unique and individual. I am my own person. These are Rob's 5 games, and it's my YouTube channel, so I'm going to put my own list up on it. But I do want to hear your discussions about it, and of course, leave your own list of the 5 games you yourself are the most excited to learn about at E3 this year. Best time of year. Share your thoughts in your own lists below. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I will catch you next time on the next E3 video.